Let's get into small coin analysis today. You guys are going to love it. My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back into the show. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is Tangem. This is where you guys can take those altcoins, put them in your own self-custody wallet, and you can do that through Tangem. All you have to do is go over to tangem.com, use our link down below. It's going to give you a little bit of a discount. Get the 3-card set. It's the easiest one to go with, and it is very simple to set up. So don't be afraid if you're brand new to crypto. You will find that this is probably the best, I think the best card out there in terms of self-custody, and you guys get to use a little bit of discount. So go there and get it started. Let's get into it today with Mr. Tim Warren. Coming in from the Tim Warren channel. You can go over to Tim's channel right there, hit subscribe, and learn a little bit more about what Tim is doing. Knocking it down with a lot of calls here recently, one of which you made on our show. We're going to reveal that a little bit later as we get into some things. In general, right now, the markets are heating up. Where do we go from here? This was a poll that we put out quickly. People are still pointing to an up position or possibly a one more leg down. I'm kind of curious. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a spot that's going to cause a lot of people to get very upset with me right now, Paul. We are in a spot right now, and we'll cover more of this in the TA section. We genuinely could go up or could go down, and people hate that. The reason why is, as we're recording this, who knows, in the next hour and a half, maybe next 24 hours, people are still viewing this, what crypto's done since then. But right now, we're on a pump, right? We are going up higher. But you're going to see as we get into the charts, there's not a lot of confirmation volume happening just yet. Right. And I'm still a big believer. Crypto space is still heavily manipulated. I think early, over the weekend and early this week, we're watching manipulation still play out. So these swings to the upside, giving people some hope. If volume doesn't come in confirming that hope, that might be all it is. It's just hope. And that poll you have there, I'll tell you what, I always like when I see the narrative of the majority flip to being bearish. And while it's getting there, that one more leg down than up company you have, 37.3%, that's good. That's still pretty high for me, though. The 53% saying up from here, I would love to be wrong, Paul. I would love for us to just go straight up from here. I have this sneaky suspicion that the bears aren't quite done with this leg just yet. I'm still long-term bullish, but I think that middle group might be onto something.
Yeah, for sure. When you look at the Bitcoin chart right now, Tim, and you see it hovering around 113 after this big correction, what do you think is going to play out in terms of Bitcoin? Tom Lee's calling for a 200K Bitcoin end of year. He's got ETH upwards of 15K. I mean, there's some crazy speculation coming out of Wall Street right now. What does your chart show us on Bitcoin right now?
200,000 is a little high for my liking. So I think Tom is a little too bullish that way. I did tell my VIP trading group, when you look at Bitcoin dominance right now, people are kind of freaking out because it's climbing again. I'm really not worried until two things it hits. Number one, as long as we stay below 60% and below the daily smart trail, I'm not worried at all. If that is broken, the level that gets me concerned about the future of altcoins and kind of the crypto rally as a whole, if Bitcoin dominance reclaims 62.6%, give or take, gets higher than the high we had back in August, that's when I'm kind of concerned. The only scenario in which I'm not concerned and Bitcoin dominance does climb above this is if Tom Lee is right and Bitcoin shoots like $250,000 that quickly and alts just kind of struggle behind. All right, in that scenario, maybe Bitcoin dominance climbs and altcoins are okay. I see that being the least likely scenario of all scenarios we could have. I think the reality is we're going to see Bitcoin dominance continue to the downside. I do believe Bitcoin will make another move back to the upside. I think we see new all-time highs. I think 150 to 170,000 by end of year is not ridiculous for Bitcoin. Let's put more like 150K as my ceiling there. I think we keep going higher in the new year. But when I say a new low could be coming or another trip back down, I don't necessarily think we go too much lower, but there are some things I'm watching right now on liquidations that could be very, very interesting. Again, until volume comes in confirming the new breakout, I'm going to be watching some very interesting liquidations here. If my screen will load, there we go. Very interesting liquidations still back down here at towards 107 until we come and reconquer and get back above 118, 119, 120, and we decide that's the direction we want to start liquidating shorts instead of longs. You got to be ready for that to be a potential right there. But in a scenario where I'm wrong, and again, I would love to be wrong about that. We do have a little bit of breakout this morning above some resistance right here. You love to see it, but like I said, when you go to the hourly chart, there's just not a lot of volume confirming it just yet. And this is something really important to watch. If you go back in the history of when Bitcoin decides that it's bottomed out and it's ready to go again, come back in here. You know, we had this big fall back in April, high volume bottom, great, bottoms in. How did we know that the support, how did we know that the bottom was in for sure? And how did we know that we were going to go to the upside? It was on the breakout of resistance. You got this pop-up of volume confirming the buyers were back. And I can show a lot more examples like that, but ultimately that's what we are looking for right now. We did have a decently, let's go back to the hourly chart. We had a decent volume histogram come in on this big pullback on Monday morning. But until I get another high volume confirmation of buys, you just got to be worried. The same people that manipulated price back in here, they might just be doing something very similar where they're liquidating some short positions only to just have it turn back over and come back down and fill out some lower liquidations as well before they're finally ready for all-time highs.
Yeah, I want to go to a clip because I think this will give us some framework of what you're referencing, which is all-time high in markets, all-time high in gold, Bitcoin and some of the altcoins in general struggling to kind of break through. Let's run SOT 1.
All right, what do you make of the rebound? I mean, yesterday it seemed like the markets were kind of weighed down by some of those Jay Powell comments. Why are we seeing the rebound this morning?
Well, I think you're checking both boxes. First off, Jay Powell mentioning that markets might be overvalued as being like the sky is blue, water's wet. We know nothing's cheap right now. There's not a lot of cheapness in the market, but that doesn't mean necessarily that we can't see the uptrend persist. So I think a lot of his comments weren't that bad. I think the market was reacting to him saying, look, there are dual risks out there, right? There's no risk-free path for them. They're fighting inflation. They're fighting weakening labor. But for me, the AI trade, the concerns on that, we checked that box. So just take a step back, put your earplugs in, tune out noise. Politics has been loud, and you just really need to stay focused on your objectives, stay focused on the fundamentals, stay focused on the technicals, and not let all of this little chirping and kind of all the worry out there derail you from your plans.
Maybe that works for crypto right now if you just kind of hold through, because these are the kind of type of cycle positions right now that I think a lot of people hate in general. Tim, I was looking at a tweet you put out. CFTC to allow stablecoins. This was the announcement by Carolyn Pham coming over from CFTC, allowing stablecoins as collateral. So this is a big deal. This will affect Ethereum. Obviously, USDC will be a player in this. Tether could be a player in this if with USAT, RLUSD. A lot of stablecoins coming to the market. What is your theory right now of how much of an impact that would be on ETH? If you take a look at the ETH chart where we're trading around 4,100, what does this do for Ethereum? Do you think we see a lower Ethereum, or have we finally reached the local bottom for Ethereum?
Well, before I jump onto the charts, I want to make sure we're very clear here, because people are going to be listening to this and saying, I thought Tim was a moon boy. I thought Tim was so bullish. Now he's speaking kind of bearish. I want to be very clear here. I am so bullish long-term because of all the things we're talking about. I'm just wondering if there's a short-term little pullback that's on the way. When it comes to Ethereum, things like this, we know are long-term bullish. We know that the further use case of stable coins, while it might not be the greatest thing for the rest of altcoin space, any layer one that those stable coins are built on will benefit heavily from the massive transactions of a stable coin. In this case, we're talking about a benefit to Ethereum. That doesn't mean it's going to be immediate. That doesn't mean it's going to be right now. We are talking about trying to fit a long-term perspective into what people want to see this weekend. They want to see their prices pop this weekend. That's not how markets always move. Ethereum, I told you guys, it's in a could go up, could go down scenario right now. You can make a lot of cases for why we should go up. I could tell you right now, hey, Ethereum, after a little bit of a break to the upside, we pulled back and we hit the daily smart trail, a very strong level of support. We're ready to go back to the upside, right?
There you go.
We even see our oscillators are overextended. That's the daily chart. If I were to go to the 4-hour chart, you're going to find we bottomed out here. We're seeing bullish divergence. We're seeing a bubble forming right here that could pop any day now, that could send price to the upside. So there is evidence that suggests Ethereum could make a decent move back to the upside. The problem, however, is going to be there's also some arguments that we could go to the downside. Matter of perspective, bulls don't want to look at it this way. They just want to say, oh, look, Tim, it's consolidating, and the daily chart and the 4-hour chart, they're low. We could pop back up, right? Well, bears are going to look, didn't mean to move that. Bears are going to look at this chart, and they're going to see a very, very fast and violent fall to the downside.
Right.
The market. Very fast fall to the downside, a consolidation in a triangle that's called a bull or bear pennant. If that bear pennant ends up playing out, I am not making this prediction. I just want to make sure people are aware of what the technicals insist could happen. This bear pennant could send the price of Ethereum all the way back down towards 3840. Again, I'm not predicting it. What I want to be clear with people is that the charts right now are messy. We are in a could go up, could go down scenario. We're sitting on some strong support. We're sitting on a lot of evidence that suggests it wouldn't be crazy to see Ethereum and crypto pop back up. But it's also not crazy to look at a move to the downside. So what do you do with this? I kind of mentioned this earlier. You look for confirmed volume on breakout. Should ETH make a move here below support, in reality, I kind of want to see it get back down here towards 4,100. If we get a breakout below that green line, if we start closing some 4-hour candles below that green line, and then the histograms of volume start to pick up and start to sway to the upside with that confirmed downward move, more than likely 4,000 to 3,800 is absolutely on the table for the next support level for Ethereum. However, on the flip side, same thing. If we get a break above red level, if we come up here and get higher than like around 42.30, and you see the volume start to pick up here as well, confirming that the bulls are back buying, all of a sudden, well, forget going all the way down to 3,800. We could be popping right back up towards 46, 4,500. It is a matter of watching, being patient, using analysis like if-then statements, because that's the only way to trade these markets correctly. I'll tell you another thing, though, Paul, that's making me confident and bullish still long term is even some of the stuff that we just talked about in that CNBC short film right there, where they're talking about Jerome Powell saying, yeah, markets are a little overbought. He's not lying. They are overbought. I just told you during this whole madness and chaos as Bitcoin and crypto have been trending downward in consolidation, the S&P 500 is hitting new all-time highs. Gold is hitting new all-time highs. Why is crypto not going there? If I'm an investor right now, and I'm listening to what Jerome Powell says, and I'm looking and saying, he's right, the stock market's a little overheated. Guess what's not overheated? Guess what is not overbought and has a long room to the upside? And oh, by the way, we're getting more regulational clarity on it every single day. We're getting.
You would think the exit would be here. I mean, that you'd see profit taking.
Crypto is the perfect investment right now. Yeah. Whether I'm a TradFi investor or a crypto investor, crypto's sitting in a great spot to invest in right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Tom Lee agrees with you. He's calling out right now potentially 12,000 on ETH, more again, institutional strength. You know, he's still now you remember, this is the #1 cheerleader for Ethereum out there. Part of his game is BitMiner, and that is an ETH treasury company. So of course he's talking his book, but it is something that he has been very, very confident about in general. Again, it'll be interesting to see how the market determines it. Speaking of markets that are moving, BNB only coin in the top 10 past gains this week. And BNB continues to outperform. I mean, this has been a little bit interesting for it to be over $1,000 right now. When you look at BNB on the chart, where does this stop? Is this still, do you feel like this is more of a manipulation project, or do you feel this has got some potential upside?
It's so hard to say that it's not a manipulation play. I'll show you. I mean, obviously their price dipped as well over the weekend, but look at, this is the daily chart right now on BNB. Let's just focus on what prices looked like since back in July here, where BNB is up. Let me get the exact percentage. From those July lows, BNB is up right now 67%. It at one point was up 80% versus, I'm going to really quickly flash to some other projects here real quickly. Take a look at what Bitcoin looks like in that time period. Very slow, methodical, sideways. Take a look at Ethereum. Take a look at Chainlink. Take a look at these others. BNB continued to pump and rally while other things were coming back down to the downside. And then, I'm not going to pull it up right now, but I don't know if you saw that tweet timeline of CZ's tweet talking about how support is very good for the strength of a foundation. It was literally tweeted, and then the very next second, the markets drop. It's really crazy, the manipulation going in play here. I had a sign, I think it's going to get smashed at this point if Binance continues this. I earlier this year predicted about a 1265 top this year for Binance. I said that would be a nice, interesting spot to keep an eye on. We're very close. I did not think that we'd get this far, this fast. You can see here, it's just destroying former all-time highs here from back in 2021.
Right.
Unlike the rest of the crypto space, it is just smashing through. Kind of similar to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's way above the highs back then, but very few projects that were around in 2021 are like that. BNB is benefiting from that very, very heavily. Same thing even here. Guess what? With this more recent move, the volume's been increasing, confirming while other things are selling off, people are buying BNB. Is it people or is it just Binance themselves selling other cryptocurrencies, keeping them down low and investing all of it into BNB? I'll leave that to someone who knows a little bit more about tracking wallets than myself. But the evidence I'm seeing on the charts, the evidence I'm seeing on Twitter, connecting some logical dots, it is hard not to say that Binance wasn't behind this more recent confusing move of the weekend crash.
Well, you got to look at a couple other things that have happened, and that is in reference to Franklin Templeton, their tokenized platform. This is on Benji. Now it's going to expand to the BNB chain. So that's another advantage. This is a big player, that could, contribute to BNB. And the likelihood of that getting more Franklin Templeton types coming to this market could be real. So I'm with you. I think it's still a very interesting position right now. You look at the chain's stablecoin supply just hit 12.5 billion. This is the highest level that we've seen, again, back in years. So that too, a big deal in terms of where BNB is heading. One other thing I want to hit on right here is XRP. Midas, of course, we had them on the show with Axelar. Big announcement on liquid yield tokens. XRP now on the game board. Right now, TVL around almost 20 million right now just on what Midas is doing. If you guys didn't catch that video, go back and look at that because this is a big deal. Then, of course, Flare comes in with F assets, just launched today. These are big, big potential moves because it does expose the entire ecosystem with XRP into DeFi and starting to earn some of these yields. Flow so far about 2.6 million in the core vault. What are your thoughts on XRP? Getting the bump it had, I think it's up 4% on the day. Do you like this as a temporary move, or do you feel like maybe XRP is set for a breakout here?
Yeah, I think it's one that's on the longer term set for a breakout, right? I'm not saying we can't dip back down on shorter time frames, but if you're someone who is investing for the next couple of months, not just the next week and a half because you're in a day trade, XRP is in a good spot. We told our community back here, we said, hey, look for a pullback back down in this range of around 277, 280, big equilibrium level back here, back in that support that we had in the early September days. Also, if you go to the 2 daily chart, this is going to be where we had a order block, a good breaker block right there, but also the 2 daily smart trail after a 2 daily sell signal. So you're sitting on some strong support. In a nutshell, the other big reason is because we had a big breakout here before. This is one that I think this is my more conservative estimate, was that a big breakout to 381 could happen. Clearly, we're pulling back down. But you can see when you trace that former resistance level, we're really just bouncing on that resistance. Very normal thing to do. A bullish case, bull pennant, pattern would suggest the next big move for XRP would be up above $5 for the next one right there. So I'm still a big bull on XRP right now. I think that these corrections, again, you always have to be prepared for what's normal, what's healthy. And in this case, anyone who's sitting here freaking out about it, I want to remind you guys, look for support, major support levels. You're seeing that here on this 2 daily chart, daily chart. Yep. There was some big, big support. So if you believe, like me, in the power of manipulation sometimes, as long as it's not taking us into a bear market, it simply pulls us back down to a significant support level, one that you, the retail, weren't ready for. But if you study your charts, you're aware of it. They buy that dip when you're selling, and then they make a lot of money.
No doubt. Well, and I think that's the key here, guys, is timing in the market. Where are you in that position? How do you play this out if you're a long-term holder, if you're maybe a short-term holder? Listen, Tim, we got to give you your kudos because you called it here on our show, and that was this show we did 13 days ago, right there on Avalanche. And we were looking at a breakout on AVAX that could happen. In fact, it did. And a good upside for Avalanche, also correcting above 30 bucks at the time. I think we were trading around 28 to 29. Where you look at Avalanche right now, if you were in that trade right now, would you exit it at the current gains, or would you go ahead and let this one ride?
Yeah, well, so the way we traded it in our group, I'll kind of show how and draw out how we did this. So if you guys remember, what I called on this show was that due to the W pattern and then the buildup that happened here right below 26.50, give or take, we predicted a big boost would happen. So even though I had a long that came in way back here, what I had our community do is on this verge of the breakout, we had a buy signal in down here. We put our stop loss well below the more recent higher low in place. And then since our trajectory was all the way up here, I'm a big believer of making sure you secure profits. I look at things and I always look around the middle point and I say, let's make sure we have what we call a take profit one, where you can choose for yourself. You want to take 25%, 50%, 75%. I usually do about 50%. What I do with trades like this is I still believe a move all the way up towards $45, $46 in the cards, but I took profit. Half of my position, I took profit, and then I took the stop loss and I raised it to break even. So now, even if a colossal crash on AVAX happens, I have locked in 50% profit of a 50% of my move. If I come back down, I didn't lose any money whatsoever, and I leave half my position open to just play and say, hey, can I make this move and get profited there? In that case, I win once again. But that's how we traded it. And if someone entered up here, I would have told them the same exact thing. It doesn't really matter where you enter. I'm a big fan of looking at your main target to even take profit one somewhere in the middle of that, just secure some profits just in case you're wrong. And it ended up being a very good play for us. And we're still in this trade. This trade is still active and open. And I'm still pretty favorable. I think it'd be pretty difficult to drop back down to below these levels. But if it does, I'm ready for it. I won't lose money. That's how I would have traded that AVAX move.
End of year right now on AVAX, if you're holding that 50% of that bag right now on that particular trade that we made here on the show, where would you play this out to the end of the year or look for other exit points?
Well, at this point, the almost way I see it is I'm playing with house money now. I've locked in my profits. I've locked in no loss whatsoever. So I'm going to let this one play out. And if I hit 40, I think that's like 45.70 or something is my official take profit too. If it hits, great. If it doesn't, okay. I told you before, I'll share my screen again. This was just my shorter term target for AVAX. Of course, the question then becomes on the longer time frame, can we smash above this descending level of resistance up here? And then all of a sudden, you're talking about another long position where you're looking for profit somewhere in the world of $150. That I'll enter a brand new trade. I'll let this one play out. I would expect for AVAX to get up here and have some consolidation and give me some time to re-enter after taking profit. And then I'll probably look for a brand new long to trade all the way up here. Again, guess what? I'm going to put my if I were to enter somewhere in this camp right here, I'm going to put my take profit originally up there, and I'm going to put a little take profit one somewhere right here in the middle, just secure that gain, make sure I don't risk it all and then not get anything for a good TA. Make sure my TP1 is somewhere in the middle there.
There you go. Just to look at the DEX volume right now, DEX volume is climbing on AVAX. In fact, if you look here, AVAX flipped hyperliquid right there. So good DEX volume, at least in the last 24. So maybe this is a good sign because this could point to some more action on
I'll tell you this
for sure.
I'll tell you this, Paul. I'm more of the TA guy, right? We have a whole team, though, at our group. We have a guy named Crux of Crypto. He's our fundamental expert. He did a video on his channel, and he was comparing SUI and AVAX. And people know, if you watch me, I'm big on SUI. I like SUI.
Yep.
He went into the whole video thinking his synopsis was going to be, hey, guys, both good, but SUI's better. In all of the stuff he studied about what AVAX is doing, the adoption coming, he said right now, AVAX is clearly the much better investment than SUI from a fundamental standpoint, what the future looks like.
Well, that's a big deal because you look at what Anthony Scaramucci is doing with this new DAT, digital asset treasury. He's kind of like a Tom Lee type. It's very possible that he could pull through some volume. Again, this is all timing in where the market is right now, whether or not we see it. But AVAX has been, of course, coming off an extreme high of where we were, at least the most recent local highs to where we've come back down to on Avalanche. So very, very positive on AVAX. Let's take a look at another move that could happen right now, and that's Solana. I had Matt Hogan on the other day. He's like, hey, it's Solana season. Q4 is Solana season. Solana has retraced back down to around $200. Is this an entry for Solana for you right now, at least on a local trade?
It is very good support. I'll show that one. This is one I remember being on your channel saying, hey, the downside of this rising wedge is we could have rejected right here on 217 and then pulled back pretty far. Like back down, I think we had like 160, 170 as a target to downside. But instead, Solana had a nice boost to the upside. By the way, remember I was showing other coins as well. Solana's chart does not look like Bitcoin's or like Ethereum's or like Chainlink's. Solana's had a very good run even right now. And what it did here more recently is it pulled back down, back into the formation, but it's looking like we're getting a pretty decent little bounce here around a zone that at one point, again, back here in September, we actually shorted it successfully in August on the 29th. It broke that resistance. Are we now using that same zone as support? I think there's also, just like everything else, you had this daily sell signal back in here after breaking up to 250. We came back down. We touched that daily support level right there. So I think this is a buy signal for sure. I would tell people just to be a little cautious and say, hey, when you look at liquidation spots and you know that we're in a world of manipulation, two things stick out to me. Two places stick out to me. Right here around 195, 200, a lot of bright green stuff right in there. And then the other big one is going to be back down there at, again, that target 173. I think that's the one we named before. There still is liquidations down there. Manipulators can crush spirits. Like, I think we're in a world right now where people are bullish right now. Your poll, I ran a poll very similarly. People are still bullish. Sometimes manipulators crush your soul before the next rally. That's what we saw happen early this year. That's what we saw in the summer of 2024. And let's do in hindsight, Paul, those weren't the ends of the bull markets, but it sure felt like it, didn't it?
Yeah.
Whether that happens now or later this year or early next year, I just want people prepared for this. When you're in a market that's manipulatable, and crypto is, you will have seasons where they crush your soul. Be prepared for soul crushing and buy those dips. Don't get surprised by it.
Hey, Tim, I got one more question for you before I let you go.
Sure.
AVAX or SOL, what do you put in your play in?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that's the question, because I was just telling you how I was a SUI guy over AVAX until about 2-3 weeks ago.
Yep.
And then our fundamental guy did some research. He said, man, AVAX is the play. Let me wrap up what I've said on the show before. I'm almost always going to give the initial vote of confidence to the coin with the smaller market cap. As long as they're both quality products, give me the smaller market cap 8 out of 10 times. But again, with the recent surge in AVAX, not just price-wise, but in adoption circumstances, this was a coin that was disappointing for most of this bull market so far. People were kind of checking out on it. Now the whales have kind of said, all right, fine, you don't want it, let us have it. They're building it up. They're building the relationships. It's got a treasury now coming for it. This is not an insult to Solana whatsoever, because I still like Solana. AVAX is a hot project. Buy it while you can at cheap prices.
Yep, there you go. All right, man. Listen, Tim, it's good having you on the show. Thanks again for stopping in. We'll definitely have you back. We'll break down some more as the markets continue to heat up. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Paul.
You bet. All right, so you guys get in on the Diamond Circle. It's our own private group that you can take part of, and it's free. We leave a link down below, of course. All you have to do is click that, and you can join. And number one thing to do right now, take some time, subscribe to the show, and then, of course, follow me out there on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on The Paul Barron Show.